Hello. Welcome to Pre-Do on Air. I am Caleb Suttles, the host of the show. Pre-Do is a collection of short, shareable stories. Each week is dedicated to a pre-visionary. That is, someone who is revisiting their past and sharing their revisions, the things they would change if they could. The things they know now that they wish they would have known then, whenever then is. These vignettes are created to share, so if this story connects with you, share it with your friends and consider sharing your own here on air. This week, we launched our website, so if you aren't listening from there, be sure to visit predoonair.com for an archive of our stories and new material as it's released. Today's revision, Full Circle Moment. We've been on a bit of a theme in these first few episodes of the show, creative people striving to make it in one way or another. A man overcoming his depression and ADHD through his poetry, another revisiting his musical ambition after 40 years, and today, a story that could serve as a sort of preface for the others. This is the story of Juwan Platt, a story of a personal friend of mine. Juwan has asked himself questions many of us have asked ourselves. Can I make it? If you are a creative person, it's almost certainly a question you have asked yourself before. Am I good enough? Am I creative enough? Is art or photography or design or film something I can really make money doing? Can I do what I love and make money doing it?
This is a wild statistic that I'm making up, but I'm pretty sure 8 out of every 10 creative has struggled with, man, am I going to ever make money off of this? Or, man, if I'm ever support a family off this? Or, I'm sure everyone struggled with it, But the ones that do make it are the ones that keep going. You're never going to make it if you quit. So if you keep going, the money going to come to you. You just got to work hard, be nice to people, and just, do your thing.
That's a lesson he's learned, but learning it wasn't easy.
My story, I really don't have much of a story. I'm really just more of my life. So I guess that's sort of a story. I'm born and raised here in Savannah, Georgia. I'm a pretty young guy, just turned 21 recently. But I'm not the conventional 21-year-old, at least I like to think. I went to college and I spent about a year and a half there, and I realized that is not what I want to do with my life. I'm now in the creative services, offering graphic design support, photographic support, video, animation, and pretty much everything.
Juwan always had an artistic disposition, but he wasn't always convinced that he had a future in the arts.
Yes, I started drawing when I was about 6 years old. I was in the first grade. But yeah, I started drawing, and I realized by the time I was in the 5th grade, I really had a knack for drawing and creating. So I continued to draw up until I was in about the 9th grade. And once I got into the 9th grade, I realized, man, people like that I draw, but the girls not liking it too much. They rather me be a basketball player or a football player. And then that's when older people started to ask the question, well, what are you going to do once you graduate high school and blah, blah, blah. So I was, say I'm going to be an artist. And then they give you that funky look like, what? Artists do not make any money. So I stuck with that idea that, artists cannot make any money and that there's no way that you can make it into the creative services. So I stopped. I stopped creating. I stopped drawing. I stopped everything that I was doing. And I feel like that was probably one of the most terrible mistakes that I could ever make. Allow society and what was going on around me to stop something that I truly love.
Looking back, he realizes the power his work had, even at a young age.
Oh man, I was a big Dragon Ball Z fan. So I definitely will replicate those figures. I have a crazy story actually. When I was in the third grade, we at the lunchroom table, we used to trade Dragon Ball Z pictures that we got off the internet, and I was more of the less fortunate bunch. So I didn't have a color printer at my house, let alone a computer to be printing off these images to trade. So in order for me to still kind of fit in, I began to draw them. I just drew my own Dragon Ball Z characters, and my hand drawing Dragon Ball Z characters held so much more weight than any of the computer generated ones, because mine was special. Mine told a story, mine was original, and so I would trade one of mine for like three of theirs. So I wish I would have appreciated that more when I was smaller. Like, man, I have something valuable here that no one else has. So
that's a lesson he started to learn toward the end of high school, when the girls and clothes and expectations gave way to the necessity for Juwan to determine his future. He remembered his creativity and decided to re-engage it.
My 12th grade year, I got into school into Washington, D.C., and literally it was one day I sat down at my computer and realized that I did not have any photographs of my friends or my family. So I stole my mother's point and shoot camera, and I went to the weekly party that we had in town, and I just started taking pictures of all my friends at the party. Then that following week, I took my camera to school and started shooting at school, and I was like, man, I never really looked at photography as an art, but like I really like this. So as I started to learn Photoshop and things of that nature, I realized that they had graphic design components and how you could take your illustrations and vectorize it and then put it with your pictures, and it started to come full circle again. I started to really get back into the arts and really push forward. And crazy thing is, I never went to that school, but I stuck with my art. So, and I'm grateful for that.
Since then, he's actually done quite a lot. He's presently working with the local school system of Savannah, Georgia, as well as businesses and other creative groups and publications throughout the area.
Yeah, I love to talk about some of the things I'm doing. One thing I'm doing, I'm working with the local school system. That is one of the things I never would have thought I would do. I was so anxious to get out of high school, and now for me to be on the other side of things, it is mind-blowing. The jobs of educators, these people are some of the most hardest working people I've ever met, and to be working with them is amazing. I come up with creative projects for our children to do on after-school programs. I also give the after-school program a branded look, using photographs of the children. So I'm using my artistic superpowers to help the children that came from the same place I came from. And I'm also acting as a role model in a sense to show that artistic kid that, hey, you can make something of yourself if you want to. There is a financial future in art. So it's amazing how life comes full circle. I wish I would have never put down my art, because I feel like I would be amazing now. But it's one of those things that I can always look back on, and I can always tell people, stick to what you love. No matter what, stick to what you feel is your calling. And I felt that when I was in the 5th grade. So for me to be that young and feel it, and then now that I'm 21 and still feel it, I feel like, what, this is the road that I'm destined to take. Also, I do a lot of freelancing with local publications and my superhero friends here in Savannah. Anytime they need some help, I always help them out. So I'm a busy guy. I try to get my hands in as much as possible.
He also recently spoke at the 2013 TEDx Creative Coast Conference. For someone who is told he couldn't be successful in the arts, he's quite successful for someone his age, period. We all have something unique to provide the world. The truth that Juwan discovered is that to be impressive in the world, To make a mark, you simply have to pursue becoming ever more intensely yourself. There is no one like you in the world, and if fully recognized, that changes everything. Pablo Picasso once described, "My mother said to me, if you are a soldier, you will become a general. If you were a monk, you will become the Pope. Instead, I was a painter and became Picasso." So the next time you as an artist, or you as a filmmaker, or you as an entrepreneur are greeted with sympathetic concern for your future, boldly explain that you simply want to be you one day. Describe that no one can specialize in you but you, and that means something. Don't strive to become a general or the Pope. Strive to be you, and you might just end up being yourself.
Oh, man, it just provides such a confidence in myself that I could walk into a room and really feel as if I have something to offer that no one else in the room has something that can offer, whether it be big or small, No one can draw like me, or no one can take that photograph like me, or no one can do anything remotely close to like I can, because I put my own little touch into it. I'm confident about it. I stand by it. I feel good about it. So having that confidence, allows you to do amazing things.
If you or anyone you know is interested in sharing your story on air, email me at predoonair@gmail.com. Please share this episode with your friends and visit us at predoonair.com and come back next week for the next revision.